much does Battles of Legend Monstrous Revenge actually change the metagame for, well, July and early national format? I'll make 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out more. Oscar Robbie, you just said early national format. Well, our WCQ is coming up here. So Monstrous Revenge, what actually matters in this set? We're going to start off with Assault Synchro. We've already talked about all of these, but I want to talk about their general place in the metagame. The biggest thing that Assault Synchron is going to have going for it is, hey, you want a free level 2, you decided that today was the day that you wanted to play some sort of Bysteel Synchro, make level 8 turbo, 9,000 deck. I really want to access Baron de Fleur. This is the extent you're going to play. And then it's got the additional, beneficial effect of, hey, if a Dragon Synchro monster is tributed or, banished, you can banish this to go ahead and special summon that monster. It's pretty free real estate, actually, as we're going to call it. So in terms of, little splash ability, a free level 2 tuner monster that gets the ability to bring, extend on out. Yeah, 700 light points might cost you game and time, but, what are you really worried about here? And then, of course, there's the Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, Infernal Rage, insert clickbait, Sam best video ever. 9,000 Elemental Heroes, best deck ever here. So yeah, this guy is, I only mention this because every hero player always mentions, Robbie, you're not talking about heroes! Talk about them! Darklaw's a good card! Okay, well, I had to get that out of my system because that's what it feels like every hero player always commenting on the videos, screaming at the top of their lungs, heroes! Yeah! Darklaw! Okay, well, so this thing has to be Fusion Summon. On Special Summon, you can add a favorite card in its name from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So you're probably going to grab Favorite Hero, and you contribute summon this card that was Fusion Summon using normal monsters as material. Special Summon a level 7 or lower Elemental Hero from your deck or extra deck that cannot be normal summoned, set ignoring summoning conditions. Let's be perfectly honest here. The only things that you care about on this card are on Summon, get the ability to add a card with favorite in its name from your deck to your hand. That is it. If you are trying, to go down a normal route with this, you're not going to get anything. But how much of a metagame impact does this have? This one's for the hero player, so they can stop yelling at me going, Darklaw's relevant! Ah! God, it's everywhere. I guess that's what Darklaw players feel like when they make Darklaw and their opponent doesn't out it, right? Oh, God, there's drool everywhere. Thanks, Darklaw. I appreciate you, too. And then we have Link Decoder. Now, this one's for all 10 of the MathMech players. No, there's more MathMech players than that out there. But this card, I think, is really cool. Because they made a level 4 or lower Cyberse Monster Link 1. That if this card is sent to the graveyard as a material for a Link... for a Cyberse Link monster with 2,300 or more attack, this gets to revive itself. This is the fabled extender that people wanted to see for Cyberse decks. Don't underestimate the ability for actually a good Link 1 to get the ability to go ahead and extend itself on back. So free stepping stones are typically the name of the game out here for free real estate options for this. So I think of everything mentioned so far, this is probably the most impactful card. Strictly because every MathMech player is going to look at this and go, oh, okay, I mean, yeah, sure, it's pretty good. Yeah, exactly. And then there's Caticorn. Now, for those of you that don't know about this little card, if this card is special summoned while you control no card in your field zone, you can add one field spell from your deck to your hand. Did you read that right, Robbie? Yeah. That's a literal plant monster that says, hey, you don't have anything in your field zone? Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and toggle for any field spell in our entire deck. This is meta-relevant to Rika shenanigans, because they can go toggle for Con, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, time to get wrecked. And then the additional effect, if this card is destroyed by battle card effect, you target a field spell in your graveyard, add one card with its name from your deck to your hand. Well, the additional effect is pretty good, but the only thing that we care about here is that first searchable field option that you get with this, because that's, once again, free little option trees, and I've been pretty much pro Caticorn this entire time. And then there is Azalea. No matter how you look at Azalea here, you're like, oh my god, another Sky Striker card seeing meta roll. It's not even for Sky Striker. It's literally for like everything else. On must be Link Summon. You can only special summon one of these per turn. On special summon, you can target one card on the field, destroy it, and then this checks your graveyard if you have 3 or less spells. This goes to the graveyard. And at once per turn at the start of damage step, score battles an opponent's monster, banish 1 spell in your graveyard, destroy that opponent's monster. I mean, the main things that you care about for this is it's essentially a replacement for Donner that is a little bit less generic. And we've seen the OCG. They love this card. There has been so much playability in terms of this. So out of everything in Monstrous Revenge. Now, don't get me wrong, Monstrous Revenge is quite a monstrous set. Like, everything that Monstrous Revenge kind of has going for it, there are a lot of cool cards. Like Shadow's Light, Duality, a lot of good things. But some of them aren't really at the point right now that I would say that they're going to break the game. Does that make sense? Because when you look at, you know, generic cards, or at least the stepping stones for what unfolds in a very early set, the first things you look at are, oh, you know, like, what new decks actually spawn out of this? You know, how does this warp the metagame? And if you're just kind of retooling, or, you know, adding 1 or 2 cards into the pool that either just strengthen an archetype barely, or enough to, you know, push things in a direction that maybe would make them slightly more, a little bit more up in the rogue category, you got to ask yourself, oh boy, you know, and that's exactly what Monstrous Revenge does. So we're going to be using the German national pie chart over here as a demonstration for this, because this is one of the last big events that we had here pre-Monstrous Revenge. And I do remember, you know, this upcoming weekend we do have the remote YCS. Somebody's going to be screeching at the top of their lungs, remote YCSs don't matter! Well, I mean, they still have a prize card attached to them. They still have a trophy. I don't care what you think. There still will be some sort of good prize on the line at the end of the day. So no matter what you think, there will be something coming out of that. So full disclaimer, at least on terms of that. Now, with that being said here, how much does this change what we have already seen here? Literally, like, nothing. Alright, like, Kashtira and Sprite have been duking it out for, like, the top metagame spot for, like, this whole format. Like, I'm sorry to tell you that, but, like, Sprite and all of its variations have just been so far ahead of a majority of, you know, the competition that it's crazy. Now, obviously, you know, Kashtira has been a little bit further ahead here. And the main thing that I, you know, attribute to Kashtira being, you know, way further ahead is the amount of fallout from the disappearance of kaijus, honestly, is what hurt, you know, people playing against Kashtira. And until we see those kaijus rotate back in a successful way, then you're going to continue to see Kashtira, you know, take the lead. But yeah, Sprite on the follow-up. Labyrinth gains nothing out of Monster Revenge. Literally nothing. The deck just continues to cruise control. Rika does get Catty Corn, but how much that actually changes in, you know, the deck build itself isn't that much. And, you know, Branded Despy has already been established as a top-tier competitive deck, so that doesn't gain anything either. Now, obviously, there's always the Fabled Rogue category, where something will, you know, creep through. I mean, in the case of, you know, lack of Vanquish Soul, lack of Sky Striker, everybody Elemental Hero players out here not even showing up. The rogue category is always the wild cards. Anything can actually happen as long as you can, you know, round out the competition, and Monstrous Revenge doesn't really add the tools to that. Now, obviously, Dragon Link is another competitor that we've seen, you know, being a big pain in the butt, which will be sitting at the dinner table usually. But overall, I don't see a metagame shift. I think you're pretty much locked in for what you're going to continue to see be the rest of this format. With a little different slice of, ooh, you know, maybe I can play Azalea. Oh, you know, maybe Donner doesn't really matter right now. It comes down to steady deck building and, honestly, the inclusions of the tech choices that you really think are going to matter. So, sorry to burst the bubble, but Monstrous Revenge is not quite the metagame defining set that we wanted to see before the NAWCQ. But alas, what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.